So this is how I was able to move these multiple Excel files. Thousands of records each over to my SQL Server DB. So first thing, I had to create the table. The columns, it's good to have an identity. It helped me kind of like, if I want to specify certain things or records, or if I want to like transfer something or update something on this side of the field that's correlated to each specific one, I can make it match. You know, I can bring the ID number and the thing into the other table and make sure, hey, update all the records where all the ID is equal to the same ID on the other side. But brought that in, added the tables that they wanted, and from there, if I wanted to see all the ones with no nulls, this is what I run. Now, to do this and bring the data in after I create this tables, I had to go to SSIS, the control flow. Oh, go to my control flow. Just take this, right? Take data flow task, and inside of there, I'm gonna configure a source and a destination. These come, I'll explain later. So first thing I do is, it's better just to go here, create a new connection manager, one to the destination, and one for the files. Oh, I have this lined up. This was for another experimental thing, but specifically, see this, I have it mapped over to the file itself, and always have that .xlx at the end, copied and paste. When I browse it, you have to make sure it's copied and pasted in. Sometimes it doesn't bring the whole thing, so that needs to be there. And version's okay here. So once that's connected, I can see all the columns here from that one specific file, right? So I'm only looking at prospect B. So I can see everything is here. If I hover over it, it'll show me like the data types. These are Unicode, right? Length 255. So when I bring these over, my destinations were built on a different data type. You see varchar, date, time, and these are strings. So to change those over to string, I need to do a data conversion. But there were some columns I needed to add, so I added those columns first, and then went to a data conversion, picked those specific columns, the first beginning ones, and changed them over. And also made the acronym easy to find and changed them over to this. And on my destination, boom, picked my table. And then on my mappings, I map everything to the updated record type. It's string. String. So now that those are fine and equal, um, I can just run my package, right? And what you'll see is it moved the rows and the records through here. Now, it won't, just by configuring that, it won't load all the different records because you see how the numbers are changing here. This is a different process, but it's just to show you how the package would work. It would just run like that, and I'll be able to see everything on my table, right? Now, um, that being said, to make this something that's able to process every single one of the files, not just do this one, but to go through all of these files like you saw, because otherwise it would just do this and stop and be done. because that's how the source is mapped inside of here, right? It's coming over to, sorry, it's just right to the file, right? That's the only one that's going to move. So to make it move all of them, or to do the same process, commit the same data flow task again for every single file in that folder, we're going to do a for each loop container from the control flow that's going to be able to run this for each single file that's inside of there. And once I have this set up, which is basically I drag and drop that, and then I'll make sure I drop this inside, right? Come over here, I'll go to my collections, make sure it's for each file, enumerator, expressions. So, once I set this up, I have to be able to tell it where to get the files from, right? But I can't just put those in right here and it won't run. I have to kind of give it like a proper mapping, collection of expressions evaluated. So like part of the mapping is I need to make sure there's a directory on there that leads to the file folder, which is the same as this, right? And all that is, I click in here, I end up getting this window. There's a lot of work that's done on these expression builders, especially when building paths. And what they do is when you hit variables and parameters, you get to have access to your own self-created parameters or on the system. So first thing is, before setting this up for each loop, I actually have to go backwards. No, I have to set up these variables. And so far, all variables are different ways to put, to give a variable a name of a file path, right? So use variable X, which leads to this file path or file so far, right? But we'll see what else it can do. So I have archive folder here. So this one leads to the actual file folder, right? Stops right there at Excel files. This is the actual file name. This is the file all the way to the path, like this is the path all the way to the file itself versus the folder, right? So once I have these variables set in, then I can configure this for each loop container. So I go to collections, put expressions, and then I create a directory leading over to the file folder. And to show you what that looks like, I go here, and I pick the file folder, I evaluate it, and it leads me to this path. There's manipulations that can be done right here in the expression builder to lead things in different ways that we're going to learn that later. And then I put the file path here to the folder, and I make sure it says this and ends in this way .xls to pick all those files. And then for the variable mappings, where this is how I tell it where to start from. So use file path. No, I set up like a variable just like this, and it lets me choose the file path or whatever I have on there, and then it lets I put the file path there. So folder and collections, file path and the mappings, there, and then the configurations here. Okay. Now that that's done, one last thing I need to do is I need to edit my Excel file source, Excel file folder, or what's the source now? You can see it leads over to the file. I need to configure this in a way that it can be dynamic and used by both systems. So to do that, I have to, if you see there's an expression here, so I have to go to the properties of this, right? You can right click and go to properties, but it's right here under this window. And then right here where this plus sign is, under expressions, see I have this, it shows me that there's an Excel file path in there. I go here and I do the property, gives me a drop down, and I use this case file path. And then I give it the same type of expression from, build the same type of expression here, evaluate it to make sure it leads to that file. And what that does is makes it this dynamic to use. Another thing is on the actual file, sometimes they say properties, and I might have to go to debugging and make sure this is false. So right now it's running on true, but sometimes it has to be a false for it to run. But now that that this is dynamic and I have everything connected here, these two will run. And this way I can load multiple Excel files over to an OLDB destination.